Now, your host, Ken Broo, on News Radio 700 WLW.
Welcome back. It's 107. Parler is back as well. If you'll recall, day after, maybe 2 days after the riot on Capitol Hill, Apple and Google said, we don't want Parler anymore. So their services dropped the Parler app. They didn't enforce its own policy, is what Apple and Google were saying, but it sure looked like an assault on conservatism. So they've got a new CEO at Parler, and they've been planning a comeback for weeks. And for the first time since January 10th, searching for Parler.com returns as a web page, not an app, a web page, hosted by a small California cloud service company. So Parler is back. And does that make conservatives happy, or did they need this? Were they really disenfranchised? Or is this just something that would provide comfort and perhaps cover from Twitter? I know somebody who knows. He's Adam Rizzieri. He's the Chief Marketing Officer for Agency Partner Interactive. It's a digital marketing firm. Adam's been on the show many times. It's great to have him back again. Adam, how are you on this glorious Thursday?
Ken, I'm doing great. Just celebrating my wife's birthday today and trying to stay warm in this blizzard that hit Texas.
Well, listen to you. What are you going to have? Champagne and roses and what else?
Champagne on ice, lots of roses. Probably do some sushi or steak. It's going to be hard, though, with the freeze and the power outages that we had in Texas.
I know.
Yeah, we've been without, so.
I know.
We're going to have to be creative.
Well, you'll be creative. You're a creative guy. That's why we have you on. You're an interesting guy, too, Adam. That's why we got you on. Now, this Parler thing, it's interesting, but you got to go on a laptop or, a PC or some other place to access it. It's not like it's mobile. You can't see it on your phone, can you?
The mobile experience right now, you are using an actual web page like you would access with a basic desktop device. So it's not a truly mobile optimized experience. It's certainly not a mobile app. Google kicked them off the Play Store. Obviously, we know it's Apple and iOS. That's not a thing anymore either. And of course, we saw Amazon cancel Parler as well, and it was just crazy. And so finally, they found a host in California, a company called Skysilk, who allows them just to exist on a desktop website, a presence that you can access with a computer. Worst case scenario, go to your public library and try to access Parler there. The thing is they really are still, from a competitiveness perspective, very handicapped against their bigger, more establishment competitors like Twitter, right? I mean, people are looking for good user experiences with the apps that we use today, and the fact that they are right now only able to use or really provide a desktop experience is definitely a blow. Now, I do know that their new CEO, Mark Meckler, and he's a guy that's actually here in Texas. He's in Austin, and he's got a background as an attorney, and he's also got a very strong background working with some of the more conservative influencers that are out there. He's very well connected. He's really optimistic that Apple is going to play friendly and allow the Parler iOS app to come back into the spectrum. So, cross your fingers. Pretty soon we should have another alternative to Twitter back and accessible for anyone with an iPhone. But that's only like 34% of the U.S. market. A majority of people in the United States are Android users. So there's still a huge group of people that are not going to be able to enjoy a mobile optimized experience.
Well, so apparently there's a new guideline that Parler has placed on himself that says it will not knowingly allow itself to be used as a tool for crime, civil torts, or other unlawful acts. Now, I don't know if you've been on Twitter lately. I think you could find things that would borderline be crime and borderline be unlawful acts. I don't know about civil torts. But Twitter seems very selective as to whom they'll crack down on and whom they will not. I mean, it was a case where Trump was banned for life, and yet we could still get the thoughts and musings of the Ayatollah. So I'm not sure why Parler has to throw that kind of encumbrance upon itself when it doesn't appear that its major competitor does the same thing.
So weird, right? And you have to look at the people at the top, right? What do Jack and his leadership team want to see on their platform? Do they want to see a bunch of people that don't really agree with their policies and their views, or do they want to see more of an echo chamber that makes them feel good about themselves when they go to bed at night? It's really crazy to kind of just really look at this and realize that the same things that Amazon, Apple, and Google canceled Parler for are literally the same things that exist today and in the past on Twitter, and in a much greater volume as well. So I think the one thing that Parler's legal team maybe didn't do enough of back at the end of January, when their lawsuit against Amazon kind of took a road in the wrong direction, was they didn't really do enough, I would say, information warfare when it came to presenting the facts that Twitter exists in a way that pushes the same type of content that Parler basically got shut down for. Yeah. They should have basically spent some time just researching a lot of the other Twitter users that are on the platform today, and literally just showing example after example after example of junk that's on Twitter.
Yeah, you made a great point when you said that about 34% of the people that access these various places through apps are Apple users, iPhone users, and Android devices are much more popular. But still, this seems like Parler has been banished to the kids' table at Thanksgiving as opposed to sitting with the grown-ups. Do you really envision a lot of conservatives or people that just want to see what's going on Parler actually putting down their phones and logging into a website? Maybe during work when people are trying to kill time, but I don't sense there'll be a lot of that when you're sitting at bed at night at 9:30 at night looking for something to do. Not necessarily you, Adam, tonight, but I'm just saying that, it seems to me that's not going to fly really all that well. Does it not seem that way to you?
Ken, you're exactly right. I mean, the reality is this is exactly what I think hinders the continued growth of Gab.com, which Gab is another alternative social media platform. It exists solely for desktops. It has no mobile experience. The best they can do is present a desktop page that's mobile responsive, which basically just means you're accessing a desktop experience, but it kind of plays nicely with your phone's web browser so that you can actually read the text that's on the screen. It's not a perfect experience. It's certainly going to be a lot slower than how an app would perform. So to ask users in the United States to kind of take a step back in history before apps were widespread and before we expected really just instant gratification. When I tap something, I want to see it load instantly. I want to see the value or the content that I'm after without any sort of wait. We have less, as people, we have less of an attention span than a goldfish these days, literally, which is kind of sad, but it's just because we're used to such quick hits of information. So to ask the public to now wait a little bit for a page to load on their mobile device is really a lot to ask.
It is.
And so I think that it is going to be an immediate detriment to their continued growth. But right now, Parler is focusing on their existing users, simply just re-engaging them, getting them back onto the platform that exists today. And then I think in subsequent weeks, we'll see Parler's leadership team work to obviously grow their user base beyond what I would say are very, very impressive numbers. 20 million or so users right now for Parler is quite an accomplishment for any small app.
Sure. Considering they were out of business as late as a week ago. Adam Rizzieri is our guest, Chief Marketing Officer, Agency Partners Interactive. It's a digital marketing firm that helps companies market themselves and their product across a variety of platforms. Twitter is not what it once was. Twitter anymore, Adam, and I'm not some old man shaking his fist at the clouds and how bad social media is. It's not that at all. I'm on it. I have a lot of followers. I'm on it, but it's not what it once was. It seems to be now a haven for hate or narcissism or people that want to market something. Journalists telling about stories that they've written, hey, go here and read them, or literally marketing something. Unsolicited ads that pop up as something that you would just expect from people that you subscribe to in your timeline. You're getting them unsolicited now. Twitter isn't what it used to be, and I'm just wondering what exactly is Twitter right now? It seems to me it's lost its direction, and anybody with anything vile who wants to say anything that doesn't border on criticism of, for example, the Biden administration, anybody can have anything right now that they want. That's the way it seems to me.
Ken, similar to the more mainstream social media platforms that are out there, Twitter, Facebook alike, it's really becoming a megaphone for those who are at the very top, right? You have Twitter's leadership team, you have Facebook's leadership team, now working very closely with politicians to really kind of ensure alignment of messaging. And so it's becoming a megaphone for what some people are kind of pointing to as the Silicon Valley oligarchs. It's becoming a megaphone that controls the narrative of a nation. Twitter as a platform, it's got something like 187 million users or so. It's so interesting that leading up to the election, they identified over 70,000 fake accounts that were used to literally attack certain messages and then amplify others. So we have to kind of ask ourselves this question that actually Rush Limbaugh posed at the start of February. And so this is definitely a throwback to him, but a very important question. Are consumers going to have the choice to consume the information they choose, or are the oligarchs in Silicon Valley going to make those choices for us?
Great point.
It's very important that we diversify where our information comes from, and that we also know what sort of influences really decide which information is going to come our way, and really what messages are we not seeing, asking ourselves that as well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point. It used to be where you could see anything out there. It was not censored. But as we both know, Twitter is not subject to censorship laws. They're protected by something called Section 230. That's what a lot of people in Congress, mostly if not exclusively Republicans, want to repeal. But it's a funny thing. It can come back and bite you in a different way if you're not in favor or against that. In other words, if you don't think repealing 230 is a great idea, well, then stand by, because it can eventually get you as well. I don't know if that would be the case with the current leadership at Twitter, but I do know this. It's amazing how the axe swings both ways in life. We'll see where Parler goes. I just think they're back from being annihilated. Now they're marginalized. We'll see exactly what kind of traction they get. Where do you think it goes? Does it ever go back into an app situation?
I do think that we are going to eventually see Parler at least come out for iOS. I do believe that. The interesting thing, though, is that Parler's leadership team today really has a problem with Google. And I think they have a problem with Google for a lot of very legitimate reasons. Google is a lot less interested in perpetuating a free market. They are very anti-competitive. They're very much in control of the destiny. I would say they very much control small businesses and their destinies, right? So right. I don't know what we're going to see come out for Android users, for Parler. There might not be a good solution anytime soon. And so, if you are an iPhone user, hold on for just a little bit, but also do be vocal with your officials. Do be vocal with your not only your local officials, but also the ones who are more like your state senators, for example. The guys on top who are really in charge of affecting change in our policies. One of the things that I really like about what Thomas Massey said, the congressman from Kentucky.
Yeah, right across the river.
Yeah. Exactly right. Now, with Section 230, social media platforms should really function like a public forum, like really a town hall. You can't defame somebody, you cannot incite violence, but you can have a very honest conversation that comes truly from two sides with two different viewpoints.
I agree.
That's not at all how our social media platforms are operating today. And this really points, I think, attention to the business models of social media. They make money based on clicks, based on users' attention. And so to the extent that they're able to really learn what motivates us and what actually does hook our attention, they're going to exploit that every time to make a buck. So I think the business model here is similar to big tech, also with big media, is that they're not incentivized to provide for a fair discussion. They're just not. Their business is based on the clicks, not on whether or not they're facilitating an honest conversation.
Adam, it's the way it used to be in all platforms, mainstream media. It's the way it used to be with Twitter. It's no longer that, and it's disturbing. It really is. Regardless of where you fall on this issue, it will eventually hurt you at some point. Follow Adam. He's on Twitter @the_Adam_Riz. I like that handle. @the_Adam_Riz. Adam, always welcomed on this show. Thank you so much for your time today, and you stay well.
Ken, my pleasure, sir. Thank you.
All right.